Hello, and welcome to the Community IT Innovators Technology Topics Podcast, where we discuss nonprofit technology, cybersecurity, tech project implementation, strategic planning, and nonprofit IT careers. Find us at communityit.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Community IT Innovators Midweek Nonprofit AI podcast check-in. My name is Carolyn Woodard. I'm your host, and I'm not an AI expert. I am learning along with all of you. I'm very curious about AI and what it can do for nonprofits specifically. And there's just such a fire hose of information about AI coming at us right now that I was trying with this podcast check-in to just pull out a couple of different stories and threads that may be useful for you in how you're thinking about AI and kind of what's happening currently. So today I wanted to start out with a report that many of you have probably seen. This was a joint effort between Virtuous and Fundraising AI. They surveyed 346 nonprofit organizations in late 2025 and published their findings in January 2026. And they published it as the 2026 Nonprofit AI Adoption Report. And a lot of these statistics have been kind of floating around on LinkedIn, and people are linking to them, and it is really striking. So the headline that came out of this report was that 92% of nonprofits are using AI in some capacity, but only 7% report a major strategic impact on their mission. And that the core theme of what came out of these interviews and survey of these nonprofits was that most organizations are using AI individually for work productivity, and there's a real risk there. I guess their authors and many people are identifying this idea that if you do busy work quicker, you might just get more busy work on your plate to have to do. So trying to adapt those productivity gains to let you do more human-oriented things that you need to get some time back in your day to think about things or do bigger projects that you haven't had time for because of the busy work. But there's a real risk that being able to do busy work more efficiently means you're the person that does that thing and you just end up with more busy work on your plate. So, but one of the findings was that individual staff are using AI tools for productivity, but that there's not really a leadership role or strategic thinking about enterprise-wide AI, a strategic vision, a project that's going to be implemented, leadership around the ways that being intentional about the ways AI is going to transform nonprofits, not just how we do what we do, but also what we are doing. People have called this the efficiency plateau. I think that's one of those terms from Gartner or Harvard Business School. But using it as kind of day-to-day just to help you do one or two things more quickly or efficiently in your day-to-day work doesn't change how your organization functions and kind of leaves a lot of the opportunities where AI could make a big difference in your delivery and in your efficiency. It leaves those opportunities on the table because nobody's thinking about the big picture. You're just thinking, oh, I can use AI to help me draft this email to my colleague, or it can help me organize my inbox, or it can help me plan the gala, but you're not thinking of the larger picture. So 7% of leaders, the AI leaders who said they are using it for strategic impact, are using AI as a teammate, not just for tasks. So moving from efficiency, being able to do all of the things they do faster, to effectiveness, doing things differently. And a key takeaway from this report is that using AI as a teammate and drawing on, I just read somewhere that AI, because it used the large language models, it contains multitudes. So it contains a lot of collective wisdom. And sometimes we aren't seeing it that way. We're seeing it as this cute little tool that can help us write an email faster. But if we think of it as a thought partner and we think of it as a teammate, a strategic partner, you can ask it deeper questions and you can pull more out of it that's going to help you think about how you're thinking about your nonprofit mission or how you're thinking about your work. So if you want to move from that 92% of nonprofits that are just using it for busy work into this kind of strategic leadership thinking around how AI is transformative, you're going to need a couple of things to help you make that move. And it's not just like you turn it on and tomorrow you're now in strategic thinking. It's a gradual process, of course. You need to be comfortable with the tools first to kind of understand what they can do for you. So using AI to start organizing your inbox or writing a draft of a paper you're going to present or putting slides together, all of those are good kind of gateway entry points. And so what you want to do then is think about what will it take to move past AI kind of as a gimmick to AI as a thought partner, as a strategic partner. And two things to think about that came up for me over the past week are clean data and clear rules. And all of this is hopeful that you are listening to this podcast and to all of our webinars and thinking about how leadership can get involved and how these are leadership questions, board discussions, staff discussion, all staff discussions about your values, your mission, and how you can see AI tools fitting into that and giving you opportunities that you can use to further your mission. So I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've mentioned a couple of times before, which is Google's NotebookLM. And there are some other tools like this out there, but the NotebookLM is really easy to use if you're in Google and Gemini. Remember, log in with your work email to Google, to Gemini. But then you'll see this tab that you can use for the Google NotebookLM, or you can create a notebook. And when you do that, you can create this restricted library. So you can upload all the documents that then you're going to ask the notebook AI tool about. So it can pull information out of a database at your organization, documents that you have that you can upload. And that's one way that you can kind of vet the outputs that you're going to get. So they're based on trusted information and work that your nonprofit has been doing over the years, sometimes over decades. And if you wondered why a lot of nonprofit staff are kind of pack rats and we save a lot of these documents, like your strategic planning, your notes from your retreat, 3-day retreat that you did, where you talked about, what your nonprofit is doing and got some real deep learning out, and you kept all of those notes, and they've been sitting in their folder in Google Drive for ages. And they're in your head, but they're also in Google Drive. So you can put them, you can define this notebook that then you can query, you can use AI to help you, ask you questions about it. You pull out different strategic ideas that you might have. So this is all great because it also is helping with something that nonprofits are all worried about, was the fear that your data will leak out into these public models, or that a staff member will upload some sensitive document into a tool that's going to just use it in the public AI, and that it will be findable somehow through that, which it's, important information. It's important to your organization. You want to keep that data secure, and you also want to keep it clean. So I heard this term recently, AI hygiene, and I thought, well, that's such a weird term because it's not like the AI has to clean. I'm sure you could teach it to clean itself, but really it's what you're talking about is data hygiene, keeping your data clean. So how is AI hygiene related to data hygiene? And it's this practice of keeping your data clean and secure and organized so that the AI can easily read it. And the good news is, if you have it clean, secure, and organized so humans can read it, then it's going to be easier for your AI tools to be able to understand and use the data that you have. One way to think about it is if a folder is a mess for a human, it's a disaster for AI. So cleaning up your data for staff and for humans is going to help clean it up for your AI tools. And if you think back to what I was just talking about, you have the notes from your retreat from 5 years ago where your executive team was all together and you did this great deep thinking, and you have those notes. You might have several different versions of it. You might have the notes that Kathy took and the notes that Bill took, and you put them all together in this document or in these files, but then you didn't look at them again. You might have multiple versions of your employee handbook. You might have multiple versions of many foundational documents that you'd want your AI to be able to read. If you're a person looking in that folder, you might look for the most recent one and you just know intuitively, or you might look at it and be like, that still says draft on it. Is there one in here that says final? But an AI isn't going to know that. It's going to look at all of those documents. The AIs are getting smarter faster, but they're still going to have trouble making those connections. So when you are cleaning up and duplicating those folders, you're really helping your AI. You're helping it get faster at providing you good outputs. So one of the ways to think about it is you look in the folder and you think, like, if I had a brand new intern or brand new, junior staff person who just started here and they don't really know anything about my organization, could I have them look in this folder and would they know which one of these documents are relevant? If the answer is no, then you need a person to go through and look at those files and clean them up, archive the ones that, if you still can't get rid of them, you can archive the ones that are the older versions. And you can get AI tools to help you with that as well. You need to be in charge of the organizing because, again, the AI isn't going to know. But you can use that to help you do the data hygiene that you need, that is, in the bigger picture, the AI hygiene, which is going to help those tools work better. So again, just thinking about if you wouldn't show a document to a volunteer, for example, then please don't leave it in a shared folder where AI is going to be able to access it because everyone has permission to it. So leadership taking on improving how humans interact with your data is really necessary at this point in time. It's something we've been putting off for decades. Like that folder of the notes from the retreat 5 years ago, we're just like out of sight, out of mind. One day I'll use those documents. That could be useful. Now is the time. And luckily we have these tools that can help us organize. You can ask AI, like, what's in this folder? What do you think the priorities are? And then you can go through and help you clean it up. And then in addition to having clean data, clean files, clean folders, a clean organizational structure, which I'm sorry, you're just going to have to do. This could be a staff-wide project. The leadership needs to take a leadership role. Maybe you need a consultant. Maybe you need to reassign someone, take stuff off of their plate so they are just worried about your AI, your folders in SharePoint or in Google Drive and what AI can find. And they're like your AI hygiene database guru for a couple of months, and you're going to make that time for them. But in addition to that, you might be looking for other resources and local resources. So I read this really interesting article right now about Richmond, Virginia, and I'm sure they're very similar to many other cities, counties, maybe local nonprofit organizations as well. This one is not nonprofit only based, but it's called AI Ready RVA. RVA is the local nickname for the Richmond area. And it started as informal committee meetings, a bunch of people who were all interested in AI and who were worried that there's such a gap in the federal and state AI regulations. and especially around workforce development, but also all kinds of other areas of policy. So we've talked a lot here about the data centers, about community impacts, about the workforce development issues, about business, small business, how to help our communities use AI ethically but productively. They announced that they just appointed a executive director, which is how it came up in my on my radar. But it's just, if you go to their website, which I will share in the show notes, it's just such an interesting model. What they did is they started with these informal committees, and then they have created this cohort model. So on their website, you can see all these different cohorts that you can join. So there's one for nonprofits. There's one for workforce development, small business. I think there's like 12 or 15 cohorts right now. So if that's the area that you're interested in, you can join that cohort. And then the cohort itself is kind of self-organizing and self-regulating. So they are having meetings, they're having events, they're having, they're getting grants, they're having input. They did this event with Mark Cuban on AI readiness for workforce development. Just really interesting. As you know, as a nonprofit, I don't want to say there's tons of money slushing around right now promoting AI, but there's a lot of money. There's a lot of programs. And so trying to help make sense of that in a local context. This is one model. And so if you look around, you may have something similar local to you that you can join, and you'll find peers that are also interested in these areas. Pretty much all of the segments of the population that nonprofits work on are going to be transformed. I keep saying this. It is so disruptive. So everything that we're looking at, if you think out 5 years from now, what is going to happen to workforce development? You're going to have to be AI literate. How is that going to happen? How is it going to force other, gaps in people's ability to get jobs and have jobs, or, lose jobs, all that sort of thing. So that's just one area. It's not my area of expertise, but that's an easy one to see. But across the board, wherever your nonprofit is working in, AI is going to have big, big impacts beyond just efficiency of your staff members being able to write emails better. So tying it all back together, AI has been sold to us as so easy to enter. You just ask it, you prompt it, you just ask it a question, and it'll give you these great responses. So I would just want to say again, it is really easy to get into, and it's so easy to get into. It's also easy to move to these next levels of using it for more than just like playing around with, oh, can you make me a funny picture, an image, or can you find a good restaurant that's in walking distance of this metro where I'm going to meet my friend, or, something like that, to using it for more efficiency and productivity in your own workday, to then understanding more how it works, how to prompt it, what it can do well, what it's not so great at doing. And using that understanding, and as you build up that knowledge, being able to see the opportunities where your nonprofit could be meeting your mission in different ways, and probably will be meeting your mission in different ways 5 years from now. So you don't need a computer science degree. Most nonprofits already think deeply about the work that they're doing and the environment that they're working in, the ecosystem, large causes, systemic causes of the challenges that they're working on, the communities that they care about, the challenges those communities are facing, the assets and the knowledge that those communities bring. I just want to tie it back to this idea that when you're interacting with a large language model, don't think about it as like the stupidest things out on the internet or from Reddit or wherever the large language model has been pulling its knowledge from. But there's a lot of great things out on the internet too. And there's a lot of great documents and experience. And you can almost think about it as like the elders talking to you, like all of this knowledge that we can access So if that helps you in thinking about adopting AI, I hope that is helpful. Keeping the ethics, keeping the commitment to your community and the trust that they're placing in you as a nonprofit. So think again about having a clear mission, having clean data, and having that governance piece, and looking around you for resources that might be right around you. So I hope that's helpful. Until next time, you can catch us on Friday in your podcast feed. We'll be talking some more about technology topics there. And then I'll be back next Tuesday with more AI for nonprofits. Take care.
Community IT does these free webinars and podcasts for our community, and we love sharing our knowledge and experience. If you have more questions or are having trouble with your IT at your nonprofit, please get in touch with us on our website, www.communityit.com, so we can start a conversation or schedule an assessment. Downloading any of our free resources there will get you signed up for our webinar reminders, and you can attend our next webinar in real time and ask our experts your own questions. If you love podcasts, please subscribe and leave us a rating to help others find this leadership resource for nonprofits.